Academic conferences and the presentations you give at them are some of the most important professional development opportunities you can get as a graduate student. But unfortunately, as graduate students, we don't get much guidance on how we're supposed to present or what are the most important parts of presenting at an academic conference. So in addition to my other videos that discuss academic conferences, today we are discussing specifically how to give a good and strong presentation when presenting at an academic conference. Now, the first bit of advice is kind of like a no-brainer, but it's so important that I think everybody needs to hear it. And that is, when you are giving your presentation, oftentimes we are reading off of something, be it a piece of paper, be it our iPads or a teleprompter, but we are often reading. And that can consume a lot of our attention. So when you are presenting at an academic conference or doing public speaking just generally as an academic, it's important that you take the time to look up and to make eye contact with the people in your crowd. This also helps you to avoid having a monotonous tone, because you want to be as clear and engaging as possible. And sometimes when you're just reading off of something, your voice can follow a very strict pattern that keeps it from being easy to stay in tune with. Whereas if you talk more naturally and engaging while looking up and making eye contact, or you even using your hands every so often, not too much, but in that way you can make your presentation audibly sound and feel more alive and engaging and inviting to those who are listening. This also means if you are somebody who is often nervous or don't quite enjoy being in front of people, you may speak very, very quickly. And even though I am somebody that genuinely loves being in front of people, I have also been the victim of that. In fact, just the last conference that I went to, in my conference vlog, I was given a little secret note from the person who is organizing it all to slow down. So again, when you're speaking, it's important to be as engaging as you can with your voice so you're not monotonous. You want to make sure you're speaking clearly and calmly, or slower than what you would normally speak, but not so slow that it will put people to sleep. And then you also want to be as engaged with your audience as you expect them to be with you. The next piece of advice I actually got when I was an undergrad in an art history class. And in that class, a graduate student came up to me and said, you know, art historians are the only ones who know how to do this well. Historians, anthropologists, and other disciplines just don't get this thing right. And I don't think this necessarily has to be the truth, and that is your slides. You want your slides to be as engaging as possible. So oftentimes, especially if you're somebody who is not in a visual art-based discipline or focus, much of your slides may be text, or maybe something that is a diagram, maybe one word, but it isn't necessarily visually appealing. And while we are academics, we are still people that need to be caught in, brought in, and enticed with our lecture. So I like to imagine our slides as kind of illustrations to our academic storybook. So instead of just thinking about presenting the most important information, which is necessary to present a good slide for your conference, it's also important to make sure that you are including images, diagrams, or something that is also visually appealing that ropes or grabs in your audience to be engaged with what you're saying verbally as much as possible. So it's easier for art historians because oftentimes when we are discussing the things that we care about, we are visually analyzing an object, a material, a thing that other people can see. And so they can walk through the process with us in real time. It does become more difficult for people who are doing text-based analysis or even potentially ethnographic work. But just thinking about what type of images can illustrate your points the best and bringing them to the forefront to help your readers not only hear what you're saying, but visually see what you're saying. Now, the next key component that really builds into you being a good, strong presenter at an academic conference will sound a little counterintuitive, but stay with me. It is not trying to sound too smart. Oftentimes there's this pressure, both externally and internally, telling us that we have to use all these big words, that we have to use all these theoretical concepts, that we have to make ourselves sound and present and be this super smart person. But that can be very distracting and hard for your audience member to really understand what you're getting at. Sure, if the majority of your conference are, 30 plus year tenured faculty that are well versed in your topic, maybe that won't keep them or be a barrier to understanding what you're saying. But for many of us, because our topics are so particular, a lot of people have no idea what we're talking about until they hear us for the first time. So by presenting a conference paper that is accessible, not only to somebody who is an academic that may be just new to your field, but also just to the regular schmegular degular person in the world, it can help you really demonstrate just how well you know what you're saying. One person once told me in my department that sometimes it's harder to simplify something you know a lot about than to talk about all the complexities. So it's really important to make sure you are pulling out the most important aspects of what your presentation is about without adding on this academies or academic jargon that can make it difficult for your audience to understand what you're saying. You're going to be seen as a person who is way more prepared to have conversations about your topic while also creating opportunities for your audience members to engage with your questions or engage with you by asking questions or engage with your research afterwards more fully. Which leads to my next key component of doing a strong paper presentation at an academic conference, and that is being concise. And what this means is sometimes when we're talking through our presentations, we may have a much longer piece that we are really relating to. So oftentimes conference presentations are only 8 to 10 pages. And if we are talking about research that is coming from 30 to 150 pages, it may be difficult to figure out what are the most important aspects of it. But I guarantee if you really hone in on your major themes or your biggest questions, or rather than trying to demonstrate the whole entire research project, focus on one component that you think is really important that can help again make your research presentation accessible while also giving you strong command to concisely demonstrate the information that is necessary without feeling rushed and without running out of time. Being concise also helps you present as a more professionalized or well-polished academic. So instead of going down tangent after tangent or rabbit hole after rabbit hole, you are demonstrating that you have the unique academic professional skill to get to the point. And it seems like a little thing at first, but I guarantee you have no idea how important it is as an academic to get in a space where somebody just says what they have to say and then keeps it pushing. Now this next one is something you would actually need to do before you end up presenting, but it's very important and it impacts how your presentation comes off. And that is having a goal. So oftentimes when we're doing presentations, we want to share our research, but it's hard, like I said, to decide what aspect of our research, how to get it to be as concise as possible because we don't really have a goal. But if you think about why you want to participate in this conference, beyond just saying, oh, I need to go to conferences because it's the right thing to do, but really thinking about what is your personal goal to presenting this paper, it can help you refine the most important aspects to develop a concise paper that is accessible to your community. And so this is something that I had to learn with practice. And again, just even my last conference that I went to, I had a particular goal, but I didn't really refine it enough in my paper where I felt like afterwards they didn't know how to ask me questions because my topic felt a little more broad than I was hoping it to be. So by having a specific goal and knowing what you as a presenter want to get out of this presentation, it can help guide you into crafting the perfect paper so when you are speaking, you can get the responses or the questions that you think will help you move forward in this phase. Now, of course, there's a lot going on when you think about academic conferences. And just because you know how to do a strong presentation doesn't mean you feel confident yet to just go out and venture into your own academic conference. And I wouldn't worry if I was you, because I have 2 past videos that give you an insight to what it's like presenting at an academic conference and what are academic conferences and how you as a graduate student can benefit from them. If you found at least 2 things useful, hit the thumbs up so YouTube will share this video with others who may need it. it. And as always, your support helps a small YouTuber like me continue to grow. So I want to thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my other videos, and I will see you next week.